When I heard those bars slam hard, I knew it was for real. I feel confused. I feel betrayed. I feel overwhelmed. I feel silence. What just happened? How could they send me here? I don't belong here. How could they make such a huge mistake without any repercussion whatsoever to their action? See large groups of women in tattered uniforms surrounded by huge walls and gates, enclosed by iron barbed wires, and I get hit by an awful stench, and I ask myself, how did I move from working in the respected financial banking sector, having worked so hard in school, to now being locked up in the largest correctional facility for women in Kenya? My first night at Langata Women Maximum Security Prison was the toughest. In January of 2009, I was informed that I had handled a fraudulent transaction unknowingly at the bank where I work. I was shocked, scared, and terrified. I would lose a career that I love passionately. But that was not the worst. It got even worse than I could have ever imagined. I got arrested, maliciously charged, and prosecuted. The absurdity of it all was the arresting officer asking me to pay him 10,000 US dollars and the case would disappear. I refused. 2.5 years on, in and out of courts, fighting to prove my innocence. It was all over the media, in the newspaper, TV, radio. They come to me again, this time around, say to me, if you give us 50,000 US dollar, the judgment will be in your favor. Irrespective of the fact that there was no evidence whatsoever that I had any wrongdoing on the charge that I was up against. I remember of the events of my conviction 6 years ago as if it were yesterday. They called hard face of the judge as he pronounced my sentence on a cold Thursday morning for a crime that I had committed. I remember holding my 3-month-old beautiful daughter, whom I had just named Oma, which in my dialect means truth and justice, as that was what I had longed so much for all this time. I dressed her in her favorite purple dress, and here she was about to accompany me to serve this 1 year sentence behind bars. The guards didn't seem sensitive to the trauma that this experience was causing me. My dignity and humanity disappeared with the admission process. It involved me being searched for contrabands, changed from my ordinary clothes to the prison uniform, forced to squat on the ground, a posture that I soon came to learn would form the routine of the thousand of searches, number counts that lay ahead of me. The woman told me, "You'll adjust to this place. You'll fit right in." I was no longer referred to as Teresa Jorog. The number The number 415/11 was my new identity, and I soon learned that was the case with the other women who we were sharing this space with. And adjust I did to life on the inside. The prison food, the prison language, the prison life. Prison is certainly no fairy tale world. What I didn't see to come my way was the women and children whom we serve time and share space with. Women who had been imprisoned for crimes of the system, the corruption that requires a fall guy, a scapegoat, so that the person who is responsible could go free. A broken system that routinely vilifies the vulnerable, the poorest amongst us, people who cannot afford to pay bail or bribes. And so we move on. As I listen to story after story of this close to 700 women during that 1 year in prison, I soon realized that crime was not what had brought this woman to prison, most of them far from it. It had started with the education system, whose supply and quality is not equal for all. Lack of, lack of economic opportunities that push these women to petty survival crimes. The health system, social justice system, the criminal justice system. If any of these women, who were mostly from poor backgrounds, fall through the cracks in the already broken system, the bottom of that chasm is a prison. Period. By the time I completed my 1 year sentence at Langata Women Maximum Prison, I had a burning conviction to be part of the transformation to resolve the injustice that I had witnessed of women and girls who were caught up in a revolving door of a life in and out prison due to poverty. After my release, I set up Clean Start. Clear Star is a social enterprise that seeks to give these women and girls a second chance. What we do is we build bridges for them. We go into the prisons, train them, give them skills, tools, and support to enable them be able to change their mindsets, their behavior, and their attitudes. We also build bridge into the prison from the corporate sector. Individuals, organizations that will partner with Clean Start to enable us to provide employment, place to call home, jobs, vocational training for these women, girls, boys, and men upon transition back into society. I never thought that one day I would be giving stories of the injustice that are so common within the criminal justice system. But here I am. Every time I go back to prisons, I feel a little at home, but it is the daunting work to achieve the vision that keeps me awake at night, connecting the miles to Louisiana, which is deemed as the incarceration capital of the world, carrying me with the stories of hundreds of women whom I have met within the prisons, some of whom are now embracing their second chance, and others who are still on that bridge of life journey. I am the line from the great Maya Angelou. I came as one, but I stand as 10,000. For my story is singular, but imagine with me the millions of people in the prisons today yearning for the freedom. 3 years post my conviction and 2 years post my release, I got clear by the courts of appeal of any wrongdoing. Around the same time, I got blessed with my son, whom I named Uhuru, which in my dialect means freedom, because I have finally gotten the freedom that I so longed for. I came as one, but I stand as 10,000, encouraged by the hard-edged help that thousands of us have come together to reform and transform the criminal justice system. Encouraged that we are doing our job as we are meant to do them, and let us keep doing them with no apology. Thank you.